You're listening to The Building Code. I'm Tom Houghton.
I'm Paul.
Just Paul.
Yeah.
I thought you said you're going to go with PW this time.
Well, I mean, we're 25 episodes in, so it's like everybody knows.
We're greater. This is our 33rd episode, actually.
We're friends.
Yeah.
And by I mean the listeners and I.
You guys are friends.
I'll start going to PW, what I'm known to around here.
We've digressed so much that we've lost our intro music at this point. So let's let's just dive in.
I didn't even notice that.
To the episode. Today joining us on The Building Code, we have Maggie Bates, a passive home consultant. She's a co-owner at A-1 Builders and Adaptations Design Studio based in East Bellingham, Washington. Welcome to The Building Code, Maggie.
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here.
Welcome, Maggie. A little off-brand for me. My honeymoon was in Seattle. Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
Would you have guessed that?
No, that's very off-brand for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have gone somewhere like sunny and bougie.
But marriage does that, right?
That's
it
right.
just extends your brand.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going back. Going to go see a show.
There you go.
I'll tell you what show it is in the show notes.
In the show notes. Show notes plug number 1 of the episode right there.
Enough about you, Tom. Maggie, so you guys are in the Northwest. So just for everybody who doesn't know, are you like outside suburbs of Seattle, or where are you guys located?
No, we're just we're the northernmost deepwater port. We're just south of Vancouver, Canada. It's about an hour drive. It's quicker to go to Vancouver than it is Seattle. It's about an hour drive north to Vancouver and 2 hours south to Seattle by the I-5 corridor.
Okay. Fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah. It is. That's cool.
Yeah. I wish we could designate ourselves off of a port, but we're landlocked. We have no water around us, so yeah.
Thanks for the geography lesson from Tom.
Thanks. You're welcome.
That's good. Yes, we are landlocked. Maggie, you actually are familiar with Omaha, Nebraska. You were here recently.
I was. Yep. I went to Buildertrend University, which was awesome. Had a great time.
You hear that? You hear that, sports fans?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Hey.
So if you're listening, please come. Go ahead.
We're still spending our Starbucks gift card for the best photograph.
Hey, that's right. We use an app for our Buildertrend University, and that kind of helps everyone who's attending stay on top of things. And one of those things inside the app is a little contest we do for a photo contest during the conference. And if you take a whole bunch of photos or great photos, you can win a gift card.
This is news to me. So are you saying you guys won?
We did, because we were walking through the airport on the way to the university, and we saw these T-shirts that said "Be Good to People." So we all bought a "Be Good to People" T-shirt, and we all wore them on the same day. We were all
That's cool.
Awesome.
And we took a selfie, and we won.
We'll put a picture of the shirts. If you can send that to us, we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Let's dive in, though, and talk. Let's get to know you, Maggie, and the company you work for, the company you co-own. That's one of the things we want to talk about today, is how your ownership structure is different. So can you give us a little background to yourself and the company, and kind of maybe dive into that ownership structure that you have there?
Yes. Well, I'm the design manager. We're a design build company. We've been around for many, many years. Prior to us being a worker-owned cooperative, it was a partnership by two folks who wanted to retire, Cindy Landreth and Rick Dubrow, and they decided to turn it into a worker-owned cooperative. It took us several years to actually get there. I've been working for the company, I think I'm around 13 years or so. And I would say it took us a few years to get the worker-owned cooperative structure in place. So it went from what's called a sub S corporation to a sub T corporation legally. That's the designation. And it means that you can join our company as an employee, and after a few years, you can buy in and become an owner if you're invited.
Wow.
And yeah. So right now we have 4 owners in the company. We have 6 people who are going to be eligible. Either they're eligible right now or they're eligible in about a year, and they've got to go through some training and then make a small donation.
Yeah.
It's their own money that they get to keep, but it goes into our capital. And then they go through the training and they become members.
That's awesome.
I have questions.
Yeah.
Paul's got questions.
I've got questions.
Here we go.
Okay, so there's obviously tangible and intangible qualifications to becoming an owner, right? Like, so you have to be there X amount of days or years.
Yeah.
So what, if you could tell us, are some of the things that are intangible ones that would disqualify you from becoming an owner?
You have to want to become an owner.
Right.
So that's one of the big things. Part of the reason that we have the 3 years is we want, first of all, people to be good at their jobs. And it takes a couple years. It takes, people a year to learn their jobs. And even if they're an experienced person, they have to take their experience and adapt it to our little world.
Sure, yeah.
And so that takes time. Then, they get through that phase, and then, it's more like, are they part of the family, like, so to speak? Do they get along with everybody? Is everything working out? And then is everything working out in their home lives where they're not going to be moving in 2 years, or whatever the case may be.
Sure, that
whatever
makes sense.
they have to everything has to align. All the stars have to line up for them.
There you go.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a really cool setup.
It is. I think as business owners, as anybody who's running a business, you want to make sure that your employees are kind of putting forth the best effort. And I think a great way to do that is you can make them owners, or just teach them to think like an owner. Of course, that's important. But so tell us how this has impacted your business, because this is a pretty radical shift for you guys.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you just said is that you have to teach them to think like an owner. And the reality is once they have decided that they are going to be an owner, that they want to be invited, you see a shift in their personality, in the way that they conduct themselves, in the way that they communicate, in the way that they basically attack their work. It was noticed in me by the previous owners. And I remember one of the owners mentioning that to me. She's like, "You're thinking like an owner." She goes, "It's kind of interesting how that happened." And now that we have several people who are going to be starting all the training, I have started to notice the difference in their personality. They just volunteer quicker. They are looking for solutions always. They are not. They're not in the parking lot committee complaining. There's like, it's really positive. Having ownership is a position. It gives a person personal power, a personal stake in their everyday lives in a new way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's powerful stuff. I think a lot of, especially in this industry, obviously it's a lot of small businesses. It's a lot of family owned. And so for a lot of owners, they're looking for that exit strategy. Always. And if you don't have a son or a daughter that you think you're going to leave it to, then you think you're going to have to do this huge, like, to an employee, come up with this big lump of money that my business is worth, and I'm just going to give it. Like, I'm going to sell it to you. This is a really unique angle at it, which I think solves a big problem for a lot of business owners, which is, when I'm done working my tail off for 50 years, what the heck, how am I going to
pass this on? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, and if you compare it to the chances of actually selling the business on the market for what you want, it's a much better option. So you really have to hire wisely, well in advance of doing that, just doing that shift.
Yeah, that's a great point. So as a business owner, you better be looking 2, 4, 6 years ahead at who you're hiring.
Right.
And you might not go for the person who's got the best skill set when you hire. You might go for somebody who you can mold into. The skill's a different part, right? You want good people who have good management skills, who have good communication skills that you can sort of teach the skill to, right?
Yeah. You really kind of want to look for that like-minded. Yeah.
Sure.
We're a pretty sustainable company. We're pretty socially conscious. I really feel like we're a really good guy company, good guy, good gal company, and
sure.
And we call it Cooperative because there's another worker-owned cooperative in Bellingham, another design builder, and they're friends of ours, and there's a couple other builders who are right around our level of clientele and dollar amounts. And so we actually party with them, it's like, it's an attitude of cooperation that goes beyond the walls of our company.
Yeah, you see a lot of that. I've said this before in one of our podcasts, but 10, 15 years ago, it was such a competitive environment within a market. Like, I don't want to tell anybody my secrets. I don't want to share subs. And it was just like, it was me against everybody else. And I don't know if it's because of social media, but I know it's playing a part in it, that there's much more of a collaborative attitude
yes,
amongst like-minded companies who are going after the same clientele, which I think is great for the industry.
Yeah.
There's enough out there.
I think it's great. And I think part of that thought process behind it is we can do more together than we can separate.
Houses in our across our culture, if you think about how energy is used, people think, oh, it's your car, it's what you're driving. No, it's what you're living in.
That's good.
That's actually a really good way to look at it. I know Tom is all about that.
Yeah.
He's got solar panels on his mind. But a good lead in, Maggie. So why don't you explain, we do this with everybody. Like, so what is your business, and what I'll tee you up. How many employees, what type of work do you do? What's your price point? And I think that you have something very unique that you had just alluded to in sort of your passive way that you guys built.
Sure. So we're a worker-owned cooperative. We are a design build company. We have right now, I think we hover around 17 employees, so it can drop as low as 16 and go up as high as 22 sometimes. But I'd say we hover in the high teens. And we historically have done some new home building, not a lot, mostly remodels, additions, renovations of old houses. We're moving into a mix of remodeling and new home construction. With the new home construction, we're really, really focusing on high performance, which includes passive house. But it's not limited to passive house. High performance has a broader definition. And so I would say, our average job is a couple $100,000 actually, because someone is adding, a small addition, or they're going to redo the whole inside of the main floor. So our jobs really range from, 45,000 all the way up to 500,000. That's historically been the way it's gone. The new houses, depending on the size, will probably be, a little more than that. Sometimes depends on the client. Every project is different.
And for people who don't know, I mean, obviously I do, but like for somebody like Tom, what would be like what's the definition of a passive home?
From the passive, I'm certified with the Passive House Institute of the United States, which is a different organization. Yeah, it is. It's very official. It's a different organization than the Passive House out of Germany. But all of the Passive House, really, if you look in the history of it, had its roots in the United States, which is super awesome. Way back in like the 70s, I think. But the way that FIAS defines it is a passive building compromises a set of design principles used to attain a quantifiable and rigorous level of energy efficiency within a specific quantifiable comfort level. Optimize your gains and losses based on climate summarizes the approach. So what that means in my climate is that I'm really going to be focused on energy efficiency. Air tightness goes hand in hand with energy efficiency. I am going to focus on comfort and durability of the products that I'm using to build the structure. And it's going to be very climate and site specific so that we use the sun to its best advantage, among other things.
So in summary, and this is something I didn't know. I mean, you could probably kind of guess what passive house meant, right?
Sure.
Or high performance home. But this is interesting. So beyond just trying to be efficient, right, with the material you use and how the house breathes, lack of a better term, you're actually going to be specific to the environment you're in, So in the desert
Yes.
of Arizona, it's going to be wildly different than
Wildly different.
the humid climate of, Seattle and in Denver
Yeah.
and Nebraska and all over the place. So it's sort of
Yeah.
based on the environment.
You have to figure out, you have to figure that moisture is going to get into your structure one way or another. It's either going to come from the inside or it's going to come from the outside. We guard against that as much as we can. All builders do. So when we're talking about your particular region, you have to understand, what does moisture do with a building in my region? Where does it come from? Which way is the wall going to dry? Is it going to dry to the inside or is it going to dry to the outside? Like, it's different in all different climates. And that was actually part of the problem with the German passive house being applied to the United States housing market or industry, because we have so much difference in our climate from the northern part of the country to the southern. And then if you take in Alaska, holy cow, now we're really different.
Yeah.
So PHIUS was born, Passive House Institute of the United States, which takes into account all those original ideas. They're the underpinning, but then they have actual climate data sets for all the different regions.
That's awesome. I feel like one of the biggest challenges I would assume you're facing, probably not. I feel like the Pacific Northwest is a little bit more open to ideas like this, but I feel like a lot of people don't want to go green or do something like a passive house because of financial concerns. So maybe you could speak to how building a passive home is actually financially beneficial for the owner, but also, you guys have kind of based your business on this. So.
Well, right. And we very rarely do we end up doing the calculations of how much money you're going to save based on this thickness of wall and that type of ductless mini split. Like, very rarely do we actually get into the minutia of those calculations. We have some general guidelines we go by to get there, and we're getting better at energy modeling. That's something that's new to us. But put all that aside and talk about, what does a client value? That's what's really important, because if I can prove that people do not actually value what you're asking about, what you're asking is, what's my return on investment? And the reason that I say I can prove that people don't value that the way they think they value it is because of a thing that we call a senseless remodel of a perfectly fine house. A person will buy a house. It's got walls, floors, countertops, mirrors, all sorts of things that work great. Just leave them in place. Doesn't cost you a penny. But people rip them out all the time. They rip stuff out all the time, and they recycle it, or they take it to the dump, or they do all sorts of crazy things, because they feel like they need to update. They feel like they want it to look different. So the value that they have that they don't speak about is aesthetic value. People value aesthetics really highly. And what is the monetary return on aesthetic value? It's pretty small. In fact, a house with 3 bedrooms a house with 3 bedrooms with ugly carpet is valued way higher than a house with 1 bedroom with a beautiful wood floor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People think that they value that what's important to them is, I need a return on my investment, but they contradict that constantly through their behavior. So what we focus on is, what do you value? And the way that we promote what we value is to talk about it. We value energy efficiency. We value durability. We value comfort. And what does that mean to you? Like, what does that mean to you in your house? It means a lot of things as far as comfort goes. It does mean at the end of the month, your electric bill is lower. But then beyond that, it means Do you value that your home is not an energy suck on the planet? Like, I actually, we say stuff like that out loud to our clients. Do you value that you can be part of a larger picture in our industry, in our culture in the United States, so that homes don't have to be a negative. They can be a positive when it comes to the future of our culture and our planet.
That's awesome.
Are you sold?
I know it's really big and groovy to say all that stuff, but we actually do say it in a lot of different ways that are very palatable.
You got Tom feeling
get on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that, what I was going to say to Tom's question is, like, I'm sure your market comes to you, right? There's not a lot of convincing on ROI. If you place yourself correctly in the market, there's a big market for exactly what you just said, caring about the environment and caring about your impact in the environment. It's why, Prius is well sold. It's why Tom has a Tesla. One of the reasons, besides it looks cool too.
Sure, that's a benefit.
It's a benefit. Right. Yeah. But your main reason is probably impact on the environment, or one of the reasons, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's great. You have a little niche, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We keep working on it too. We keep trying to spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. It's a good mission to drive out there. You talked about building and having sustainability, of course, is one thing, but reliability of products. Are there some products that you guys have come across where you're like, these are great because they're long lasting, or they just have such great benefits to houses? Could you speak to anything about that?
Yeah. And part of the reason that we're good at choosing those products is because through the remodeling history, we come across all the things that fail. Mm-hmm. All the things that really only last 3 to 5 years before they start to look old, or they actually don't work anymore. So your question was, what products am I excited about, or what products really work? Well, in our climate, one of the things, it's kind of a tried and true. The cement board siding works really great in our particular climate. So that's something we've been using before Passive House came along in our field division. I would say that metal roofs are better than asphalt roofs, but a good triple laminate shingle is a great idea. I would say triple pane windows in our climate are awesome. And then the frame of the window is important too. So I'm kind of excited about the fact that you can now get windows that incorporate insulation inside the frame. You can get a lot, the windows that we can get that are manufactured just across the border in Canada are actually way superior to anything that we've been able to buy that's a U.S. manufacturer. In those cases, they have triple panes, they have pretty durable materials. You're not going to find a vinyl window in their product lines. Vinyl is it's cheap, and it's it helps keep the building costs down. But the reality is it moves and it warps, and then it kind of looks crappy, and after a while, and it tends to fail. So the vinyl windows get pulled out. Yeah. And then what do you do with the vinyl? The vinyl windows, they go in the landfill. Oh, that's something that I just can't help but mention because I'm dealing with interior products and exterior products all the time. And vinyl is like the quick, cheap go-to for so many builders. You see it in siding, you see it in windows, you see it in railing materials. You see it now. Flooring everywhere, vinyl flooring. Well, do you know in the state of Washington, if you take out a piece of vinyl from a building, there is no place to recycle it. It goes to the dump. And vinyl is being sold like crazy on the market, especially in flooring right now. And it's all just going to pile up when people pull it out in 5 years, because that's what they do.
Hashtag no more vinyl.
That's a good hashtag.
Let's start a movement.
I know. I'm probably like the
Matt,
vinyl.
You should start a movement.
Probably can't target me now.
No,
it's okay.
I have no problem with vinyl.
I think you're over exaggerating our reach.
How to recycle it? Please recycle it if you can.
Definitely.
Yeah. So as far as great building materials, though, natural building materials are super. I love a wood floor. A solid wood floor. You can get 6 sandings out of a solid wood floor, and
Yeah, that's true.
if you sand it 10 to 20 years apart, that's your lifetime. You can put in a floor when you're 20 or 30 and never have to change it. So, some of the natural stones or the engineered stones are great because they'll last forever and they're super durable. As far as great building materials, some of the metal stuff is fantastic because it'll last forever. I would say the life of the materials is really important to consider. How long will it last?
Yeah, like are metal roofs making a comeback? Because I'm in. You count me in on metal roofs because I think they're cool.
I mean, they're very popular out on the coast here in the Midwest.
Texas. They're in Texas, like really dry.
Metal's great for shedding snow. So if you're in a snowy climate, they're usually more popular than other climates. I haven't actually incorporated a metal roof on a passive house yet, and there is some considerations there because of the heat transfer that you have to consider. So I can't actually speak to that super intelligently on the passive side, but I can speak on the durability side. Metal roofs will last for a very long time. Generally, when you're looking at a warranty from a manufacturer, let's say it's a shingle roof and they say this is a lifetime roof, and you look at the actual warranty and it says lifetime is actually 50 years. 50 years means at the end of 50 years, your roof is totally failing. You have water coming in your kitchen. Yeah. It doesn't mean that your roof is great for 50 years.
That's a good point.
So that's something to remember when you're looking at warranties.
For sure.
It means that's the life of it. So if something goes wrong with your roof at 25 years, you're only going to get half of that money back.
Sure.
Because and a lot of people don't think about warranties that way.
That's very true. Nobody reads the fine print.
A little plug for our company. When we switched from being a sole proprietor corporation, a partnership corporation to a worker-owned cooperative, one of the things we wanted to change a lot of things, but one of the things was we wanted to increase our warranty. So our warranty for a remodel is 5 years instead of 1 year. And it starts at the end of your construction, not when you sign the contract. It's when we leave the job site, your 5 years starts. That's
a great selling point, and it makes sense, right? Because you build with more high quality material. So to not have a longer warranty would really just be shooting yourself in the foot, right? Like it makes sense. And then you use it as a selling point, and that's obviously got to be a really big trigger for people who are worried about one of their biggest investments, which is remodeling their home, making sure they don't go with the wrong person or that it goes kaput in a year.
Yeah.
I said kaput.
Yeah, I mean,
you did.
If you think about the warranty in the terms of a small town, if something goes wrong with a building that you've built and you don't go and take care of it, everybody's going to know because you live in a small town.
That'll get around.
Your approach is you're going to take care of it anyway. So why not just have a warranty for it? Why not just, get credit right from the get-go for what you're actually going to do, which is you're going to actually go and take care of the problem.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's my point.
Yeah. Maggie, we have a whole list of other questions that we could probably keep talking about forever with you on. But we got to wrap this up because
we got wives and kids. And my goodness.
I'm sorry.
You're good. No, this has been so great. We've really enjoyed having you on the podcast, and maybe we'll have to have you back to continue talking about this.
It's been great.
Anyway, so let's wrap this up really quick.
Key takeaways, Tom.
Key takeaways. Look at the new ownership structure of a co-op because there's definitely something to be said about that.
Big time.
Another key takeaway is, passive homes, there's something there for everybody.
There is.
It doesn't matter where you're at in the United States or the world. You can definitely look at it because it obviously applies to
by region.
Your region.
That's cool. Yeah.
And, I think the last point we talked about warranties is great. Like, if you're going to cover it, why not just get the credit up front?
Right. If you're going to build quality stuff and use quality material, extend your warranty, cover it, and you'll get the benefits with referral business, right?
Absolutely.
And they won't be talking bad about you in the local VFW in a small town. Small
It's
town.
right.
So she's right. See,
True.
connected. Boom.
Yeah. All right, Maggie. Thank you so much for giving these great points to talk about today. We hope you had a great time because we sure did.
100%.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And we wish you guys continued success in your business.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really enjoyed it.
It was great. Appreciate you.
Want to share a suggestion for a future guest? Have a question about Buildertrend that you'd like us to discuss, or a topic that you'd want us to cover on the podcast? Let us know by calling and leaving us a message at 402-596-6437. That's 402-596-6437. And who knows, you'll maybe hear yourself on the podcast. Love what you heard? Don't forget to rate and subscribe to our podcast so you can hear from more guests that will benefit your business. Also, please check out our show notes page for more information on what we discussed on this episode. You can find it at buildertrend.com/podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Building Code.
Appreciate you.